Welcome. So this part of for this module, completing your research proposal, is title and abstract. And some of you might wonder, isn't the title and the abstract that is the first thing of our proposal? Why are we doing it at the last? Like that's probably like one of the last lessons for developing your proposal. Like why are we doing this at the last and not at the beginning? If this is first part of our proposal. Okay, you will learn this in this lesson. Okay, we'll learn this why we do this as the last activity. But by the end of this lesson, like by if you watch this video, by the end of this video, you should be able to like craft concise, informative titles that conveys the main message of your works. You will know how what is an effective title, what we are generally looking for in an effective title, and how to craft one. Yeah. Write effective abstract. So that would be like a project summary, effective abstract. So effective abstract, and I put here in parentheses project summary. So abstracts, that's generally for like a thesis, for your report, like next semester if you're doing a project, for a research paper. We generally, like a dissertation, we generally write abstract for this. A project summary, that's for a proposal. And there is a difference. There's a slight, I mean, there are a lot of similarity between an abstract and a project summary. But so that's one thing also you will learn in this video. What's the difference between an abstract and a project summary? But highlighting the research purpose, if you're whether you're writing a research abstract or research summary, you will highlighting the research purpose, you will highlight the methods, results. For a project summary, you might still not have results. You might have some pilot result, but not necessarily. So for this one, that would be like deliverables and outputs and conclusions. For a research paper, you have conclusion, but this one you still that's a proposal. You still didn't do the work. So for this one, you might talk about the outcomes, expected outcomes, and impacts. Yeah. Basically, we are shooting two birds with one stone. We are learning this for this semester, which would be like a project summary, and for next semester or like the thesis, if you are doing a project or thesis, that would be next semester abstract. Yeah. Okay. So title page. So let's talk the title page. So we expect this from you. Like this is the minimum data that we expect from you in the title page. The project proposal title, your name and contact like information. Uh, that could be your email. Like if you don't want to put your emails, that's fine because you know you're gonna put this on GitHub. You'll publish this on GitHub. So if you don't want your email to be out there, usually when you publish a paper, like if you are a corresponding author, your email will be out there anyway. But contact information, that would be your affiliation, which would be like here is this or College of Engineering, uh, program information, proposal submission date, start date, and proposal end date. That's very important, yeah. So when are you going to start working on this project and when you're planning to finish? So, and here, like if you, I provided like a sample proposal. So if you go here to like your rubric, yeah, let's do it. So that's like the project rubric at the end. You can say like download a sample proposal. Okay, I don't know, it's not working. Download a sample proposal. So that is like a sample proposal. You see here is a sample proposal. I have the title. So that's the cover page. Yeah. So I have a title here. I this is the PI information. So I put like so my affiliation. This is the co-PIs who are working with me in the proposal, and then like application information. This is the programs that we are applying for. Dates. This is the date where we submitted the proposals. This is the application deadlines. This we are putting this for ourselves, like as a reminder when we should submit this proposal start date. We're starting to work on this project starting from this date. we are proposing to end working on this proposal starting from data this, and this is the budget. And see, like this proposal, when we submit this proposal for this funding agency, which is not rigorous, like I don't know if it's rigorous or not, but not as rigorous as other funding agencies. There are funding agencies are they are are very rigorous. Uh, it was not recommended for funding, but then we changed it a little bit and we submitted to NSF. We extended the scope and we even a bigger budget, and it was accepted. And NSF does the most like rigorous review process. They have a very rigorous review process, and usually they are very critical, and the acceptance rate are very low. Uh, but you never know, yeah. But we extended the scope, like we improved this and extended the scope significantly, and then it was funded for a bigger budget, like 300,000. I think that's what we got for this proposal, but a much better, like a bigger scope than what is proposed here, like much bigger scope than what's proposed here. Okay, and actually also working on some gaps that are in this proposal. So you never know, yeah. You can submit a proposal that might not be rejected, then it can be rejected, then you can resubmit it again. But what I want to show you here is that like you can look at this sample proposal. Let's look at it again, and that's basically all the components that you need, like a cover page. After the cover page, there's like a visual abstract. Here you see like a visual abstract, and then after in this visual abstract for is optional for you. If you want to do one, you can do one, otherwise it's optional. Then the project summary. See the project summary, it has like the background information, the methods, the output, the impacts, yeah. uh, so there's the outputs that would be like your results, for example, and the impacts that's like your conclusion if you are writing an abstract. But this is called the project summary. And here's as the project description itself. So the project description. So again, I expect you to have like this format. Like, why do I expect you to have like a cover page that looks like this, a project summary, this format? Because that is standardized grading, so that we will provide a rubric for you and we will be grading you according to this rubric. So that is standardized grading and make grading fair. Because otherwise, if there's no rubric, grading could be, it's not that, like grading might not be as robust as it should be and as fair as it should be. So now, so in order to, so we give you like uh, this format, and we expect you to follow this format and to follow this rubric, so that this is like, and also this rubric and this format, they represent like good practice, yeah. So you have here the introduction, yeah. So I'm just reviewing for you like the introduction. You remember, you start by the big problem, the specific problem, and then you do literature review. You highlight the research gaps, and after you highlight research gap, you start talking about the novelty of your work, and you end up with some research question and research objective. This is the methods. The method we divided it into like method section and like data section, and then expected result, previous support, and the timeline. So these are the deliverables. See, these are the outputs, these are the outcome, and these are like the impact. So please read this. This is another example for you to follow. And here, like previous support, and then this is the timeline. Your timeline would be different here. This is like a 2-year project. Your project is only like 14 weeks project. Yeah. This is our contingency plan. So these are like our contingency plan, and here are the references. Yeah. So that's basically that's what we like. Your final output for this semester will be this. Anyway, let's get to business. So what are we gonna learn in this video? We're gonna learn how to come up with an effective title and how to prepare or draft like an effective project summary. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so effective title. Effective title, it concisely conveys the take-home message of your work. That's it. So that's an effective title, yeah, because it just summarizes the whole lesson, yeah, or what I'll be talking about for the next like 10 or 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, yeah. So that's an effective title, yeah. Effective title concisely conveys a take-home message of your work. So if your title conveys a take-home message of your work, then that is an effective title. What does this mean? Now, before I tell you what does this mean, let me just tell you this. The length and broadness, like how short or long the title should be, that depend on like the uh, that depend on that would depend on the nature. So like when you listen to this, listen, keep this in mind. That depends on the nature of the work that you're doing, the publication guidelines. So some journals they will tell you your title should not exceed this number of characters or this number of word. Yeah, but there are some guidelines for crafting an effective title. So that's keep in mind. Like although this is like work dependent, like it depends on the nature of your work and the publication guideline, whether they are looking for short or long, like a maximum number of character for your line. Despite these limitations, there are still some guidelines for crafting an effective title, and that's what we're gonna learn. Yeah. And what are these guidelines? The summary of this guideline is this: like effective title, regardless of the nature of your work and the publication guideline, it should convey the take-home message of your work. That would be an effective title. What does this mean? So this means that it needs to be an informative title. It cannot be a question. It cannot be a question. Why it cannot be a question? Because a question is not informative. Like for example, an example like will climate change uh, how will climate change affect like hurricane in Tennessee in uh, southwest Florida, for example? Will climate change intensify hurricane in southwest Florida? Is that informative? No. You're asking a question. I mean, it could be exciting, it could be thrilling, it could be like you steer the curiosity of the readers and he wants to know the answers. That's fine if you are writing like a news article or if you're writing like a novel or something. But for research work, it shouldn't be a question. Yeah. Again, so that doesn't mean that you're not going to find questions in people who will craft their title as question in research papers. Like you will find it, but it's not a good practice. A good practice is that you should deliver the information and not a question. So an effective title would be instead of will climate change intensify hurricanes in southwest Florida would be climate change intensify uh, storms in southwest Florida. That would be a more effective title because you are directly delivering the information and you are directly delivering the take-home message of your work. Now, interested reader can read this work. Yeah. So it's as I said, it highlight key message. So here is an example: like increasing hurricane intensification rate near the U.S. Atlantic coast. So that is like an effective title. So let's look at this article. We can read this article. So increasing hurricane intensification rate near the US Atlantic coast. So basically it tells you that there is like an increasing hurricane intensification rate near the US Atlantic coast. This is in a geophysical research letter. That's a very rigorous journal, like one of the top journal of EGU. Actually, it could be the top journal of EGU because that's the journal. So EGU, they have like one journal for water resources, one journal for biogeosciences, one journal for, I don't know, geophysics, one journal for climate, and and this is the general journal, like where you can submit from all these different fields. And this is usually like high impact. So like if your work was like we published, for example, one paper here, it was pushed out of Nature Geoscience, it got rejected at Nature Geoscience, then we submitted here and then it got accepted. Okay. But anyway, so that's a good title. Increasing hurricane intensification rate near the U.S. Atlantic coast. So that's you will know that hurricane intensification rate has significantly increased near the U.S. Atlantic coast over the last 4 years. Yeah, so that's basically, these are the key points which are like reflected in this title. So your take home message, just put it in the title. That's basically like a good thing. Yeah. Include relevant keywords for indexing. So that is like another trick you can use for crafting a title. Put the important keywords first. So that's like how you craft a good title. Like see, ask yourself, what is the central piece of this work? So if the central piece of this work is like, let's say, groundwater sustainability, make your title start with groundwater sustainability. Don't make your title start with anything else. And that will improve indexing. And let me show you an example. Like, let me show you an example. Let me show you this. Like, go to Google here, and let's even open like an incognito window, so I will not be influenced by my previous session. Right, like groundwater sustainability. Groundwater sustainability. Oh, I don't like this dark view. Anyway, uh, can we have a regular view? But anyway, it doesn't matter whether you have, like, see, like when I write groundwater sustainability, then like this generative AI will propose something like this is like, see, okay, here, see, the generative AI will mm, click on the object inside for something you put inside here. We put this, we put this, we put this. Okay, verify. Okay, submit. So it's see, it pulled out like one of my article. Why? Because this article, what is the standing? What is the starting with? Groundwater sustainability. And that's why, see, like this search engine will just pull it out. Like so, like this AI generation, like see here, it's just like it will pull out like your work in this issue in like this AI summary. But let's look at all like the results. So that's like in the AI summary. In the other results, groundwater sustainability, it is by something by NAGWA, National Groundwater Organization. Then the second paper, the second uh, then you get something like a journal about groundwater sustainability. You get like a USGS report, and you get like some. This is the Sigma Sustainable Groundwater Management Act of California, and then like see the first paper that was pulled out, that was like this paper, like your paper, like my paper in that case. Like so that my paper was pulled out, and why it was pulled out, like so the first research papers that appeared was like my work. Why? See, and that like it's very difficult to get like your work or like anything you're doing to appear in the first page of Google, like in the first page of Google. So, but why is it like this case? Because of the how this was like carefully like like crafted, like where I put groundwater stability as my first word, and then you put blah blah blah. But like then that is how like search engine will pick it, and not only search engine. Like remember when we were doing like the what we were doing like academic databases, like the other, like when we were doing like academic databases, and for this academic databases they were able to pick like find like most relevant article. Like if you have the right keyword at the beginning, that will appear as like the most relevant article. So that is, so again, like start, like when you start crafting your article, that's for search engine to pick it up, like for indexing and like search engine to pick it up, but also for put important things first, even for the reader, so that the reader will know what are like the important. So the reader will know what are the important like what are the important, what's the main topic of this paper or of this work or of this proposal. So that's another thing to do, like another trick to do. Include relevant keyword like first, like start by the relevant keyword. And I just show you an example, and I showed you how by just putting like this groundwater sustainability as my first word, how this help it like AI to pick it up, and help it also like Google to put it on the first page of Google, yeah, of Google search, to find your work and as the first page of Google search, yeah. Okay, now you have like another thing, align the scope of the title with the scope of your work. So let's look at these two examples. So again, here I'm starting like pumping optimization. So that is like what I'm doing. And seagrass restoration in South Florida. So you see here, that is like when you look at something like this, yeah, that is something very specific. Like that is a specific technique, like pumping optimization. Seagrass restoration is just like a general problem, and in South Florida, yeah, that is like in a specific location. Uh, why I did this? Because like this project, like that was a kind of like a short. I shortened it, but like that was a title of a proposal that we submitted, and this proposal was about like 500K. Yeah. Now look at this title. So this proposal, it aligned very well with the scope of my work because I will do pumping optimization for seagrass restoration, and that will be in South Florida. Now look at this title: holistic understanding and resilience building of coastal socio-ecological system with vulnerable community. See now, here we are talking not some specific like technical method or like a specific region where this will be applied or a specific application. This is something very general, like holistic understanding, resilience building, coastal socio-economic system with vulnerable community. Like you have all these generic words. And why we have all these like generic words, and does the title even like so generic? Because that was a $5 million project. So no one will give you like $5 million to do some pumping optimization to restore seagrass in a specific area, but they will might give you $5 million project to advance like these type of knowledge and to advance this size of vulnerability, not vulnerability, like resiliency, like to advance like resiliency, the to advance the knowledge about resiliency of coastal community and especially socio-ecological system, to advance these systems. So you are advancing knowledge. So you are applying for a $5 million project. So you need the title like this, but here you are doing something is very specific. The the agency, like the funding agency, needs something very specific, and the funding is also like not as big as here. So here aligns the scope with the scope of your work. Okay, so that is like also another consideration. Okay, let's look at more like be concise but precise. Yeah, like so you need like your title like the more concise it is, like so you need to be concise, but you also like need to be like very precise. Like by very precise, don't overestimate what you are doing. Like here we are not actually overestimating what we are doing. Like we are precise because we will address socio-ecological system. We will like we are focusing on resiliency building, and we are developing a holistic understanding. So we are concise, and this you know this align with the project that we have. Yeah. Okay. So be concise but precise. Okay. Uh, for multi-disciplinary journals, yeah, for multidisciplinary journals that uh, for multidisciplinary journals like this one, for example, uh, like the ones that I just showed you, like these, like here's this one. Like this is studies, this is like a multidiscipline kind of multidisciplinary journal, because this is like for all geoscience research, like not specifically related to water or bioscience or geophysics or earth, whatever, geology or whatever, but it's multidisciplinary journal. So for this multidisciplinary journal, title is like you should be general enough for readers outside your field to understand it. Like reader outside the field of water or hurricanes or whatever to understand it. So the title should be general for readers outside your field to understand it. That's for multidisciplinary journals. Yeah. So let me show you an example. So let's do like this we can do, let's play with this, yeah. So let's go to like these are two journal, very good journal. Both of them are very good journal. Like Nature Climate Change, that's like a very like prestigious journal, very high impact journal, and it's a multidisciplinary journal. It's a general journal. Versus this one, the Journal of Climate Science. This is again a rigorous journal, a very high quality article. It will not has a high impact as this. So this is more like a disciplinary specific journal. So this is a general journal. This is disciplinary specific journal or like domain specific journal. So let's go to these two journals and like see their current issue and like look at titles and see how this title would be like in nature like climate change, like let's say nature climate change, browse, let's see their current, like, so that's nature climate change. So this is an editorial. Now see here, this is some article, like research article. Like, see the title here is very short. Oops. So like you see the title here is because this is general journal. It should be something very short and should be something that a general reader like in this field should understand it. Yeah. So constructing biological production trends over land and ocean. Constructing biological production trend. Like, see, the title is very short. It tells you like what the article is about, and it is like informative. Yeah. And then here, see, prolonged wind drought in warming climate threaten global wind power security. See, perfect title. Like the prolonged wind droughts in warming climate threaten global wind power security. That is exactly like what I was telling you. Like it tells you the take-home message of the article. Yeah. Now this is like a review article, green backlash and right-wing populism. So that is so like let's look at more examples. So that's the current issue of this journal. Yeah. So this is commentary. This is research highlight. This is like news. I just want to browse to the brief commentary. This is the research article of the current. So we navigating energy transition solution for climate target with mineral constraints. Yeah. So again, that is, see, short and informative. Like prolonged wind, like we looked at this one. Shifting hotspot of tropical cyclone cluster in warming climate. Wow. I That is something I will be interested to read because like shifting the hotspot of tropical cyclone cluster in warming climate. You see, like anyone can, like whether you are working in climate change or that's like an area of your interest, it's something that is short and easy to understand. Amplified warming accelerate dioxygenation in the Arctic Ocean. Yeah. And so you see, like all these titles, they are very short and they just convey the main message of the one. Let's check the other journals. What was the other journal name? So this is a general journal. This is a multidisciplinary journal, like, or we call it a general journal. Climate science, that would be a domain specific journal. So let's look here, like, let's look here, climate science, climate. And again, it's a good journal. Yeah, climate science journal. Let's check the impact factor of this guy. Like, let's see the impact factor of this guy so we can learn a little bit more about this journal. So like if you journal metrics, so like let's check the impact factor of this one. Oh my God, like see, it's a huge impact factor. See, like the impact factor 27. Let's check the immediate index, eigen article influence score, and normalized impact factor. Uh, yeah, so the impact, that's a huge impact factor, like impact factor of 27. Okay, that's because these are general articles. Like you could also, you can see this from their topic. Like let's look at this other journal, climate science. What is this? What's the name of the journal? The Journal of Climate Science. Sorry. So like let's read here uh, the Journal of Climate Science. So let's look at this one. So the Journal of Climate Science. Yeah, see, Journal of, Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's okay. That's the Journal of Climate. Yeah, I think that's the one. Let's look at like the matrix of this journal. It will not have like, see, the impact factor is 4. The impact factor of this one is 27. So you see the difference. But let's look at the current article, like current view, current issue. And let's look how the title would be like, because it would be different. Yeah. So here, see this one, like now, see, this is not like this general title that anyone can understand anymore. So like you see here, this is some general article title, short, that anyone can understand: shifting hotspot, tropical cyclone cluster, and warming climate. Now here you'll see different types of titles. So uh, again, are these bad titles? Not at all, but these titles just suit the scope of this journal. So here the ARPMG Global Atmosphere Model Description, Speed Up Analysis, and Multi-Scale Environmental up to 6 kilometer. Now, see, not that general as before. See, here, let's see. Rosy wave breaking morphologies of the southern hemisphere dynamical troposphere. Like, see, not an easy article to understand. Contribution of dust source region to ice nucleating practice in mixed phase cloud simulation with a global climate aerosol model. Like, is this a bad title? No, it's not a bad title, but it's just like, that's exactly the point here. Like, for multidisciplinary journals, the title is general enough. Not enough. It's the title. Let's discard. The title is the title is general enough. Let me. Where is that? Uh, the title is general. It is like, it is general enough. The title is general enough, but for reader general enough for reader outside your field of understanding. For reader outside your field. For reader outside the field to understand. Yeah. And I just showed you an example. Like, I showed you an example for how like the uh, for journal title versus domain specific. Like I showed you like uh, for the title for like a general something like nature climate change versus like domain specific journal like the Journal of Climate Science. Okay. For multidisciplinary journal, again, like something like this, journal title would generally be less than 75 character, including space. Okay, avoid numbers, acronyms, abbreviation, and pun- punctuation in the title. So avoid acronyms and abbreviation and avoid numbers in the title. That's generally the good practice. Sometimes we might need to put acronyms, or is somehow like attractive to put acronyms, do it, but like in your grading rubrics, try to like you'll lose some grade if you put acronyms. You're not gonna get the full mark because it's not the perfect title. Because the perfect title should just not include like any acronym. Okay, so that is part is about like the title. Now let's move to the second part of our lesson, which is about like the difference between abstract and the project summary. So the abstract, that's like a summary of research paper, conference, proceeding, thesis, dissertation. Typically, it's like 250 words for most journal. High impact journals like Nature Climate Change, for example, or Geophysical Research Letter, the ones that I showed you. Like, for example, like typical AGU journal, like Water Resources Research, the title would be like 250 words. For general journal or this multidisciplinary journal, high impact journal, they will tell you it should be like 1 page. It should be like, it should be less than 250 words, like 150 words, for example. And that makes sense because if what you are doing is something like a breakthrough, you don't need a lot of words or justification to justify the novelty of your work or how like important this work is. Versus if what you are doing is tiny little things, you need to write more to justify like why this is important or why this is useful or even to explain it for more people to be able to understand what you're doing or what you're saying. Yeah, as we saw this example of this like domain specific journals, like to accept like how, for example, like they were working on tiny little thing versus like big and general things. Yeah, more general things. So, but generally like between 200 to 250 word for like a thesis or dissertation. Yeah. Project summary is succinct and that's an abstract. Like project summary is different because a project summary that's a distinct, like a concise and accurate description of the proposed research for a grant application. So you provide like an accurate, like a concise and accurate description for the proposed research for like your grant application. So it is generally limited to one page, single space, and unless otherwise specified. So what does this is very important. So like when you before you submit a proposal, yeah, before you submit a proposal, what you should do, you should check, like there will be like a request for proposal. You should read this request for proposal very carefully and see what exactly they need. So what I will teach you here, this is just one way of do it. The right way of do it is that you do it according to the requirement of your funding agency. That's the right way to do it. In this class you don't have a funding agency, but you do it like but you have a request for proposal, which is would be like your proposal assignment and grading rubric. So you have to prepare like everything. That's why I'm giving you this rubric to read and like this project assignment to read, and then you can consider this as your funding agency and you have to prepare it according to this requirement. So some funding agencies, they will put like a limit on the number of pages, a limit on how big or what need to be included or excluded from a project summary, limit. So they will specify like the format, like how you should format your project, what section you need to include. Okay, and I did this with you here. So in this class, I'm providing, like I'm telling you, I need an introduction section, it should look like this. I need a message section, it should look like this. I need an expected result section, it should look like this. A cover page should look like this. Yeah. The project summary, it also has a requirement, and then you can check this in the rubric. So that is the difference. But a rule of thumb, like, or just like a general guideline, if you are doing one page double space, that would generally like be like a typical abstract. For a project summary, it would be like a one page single space. So that's the difference. Yeah. So for an abstract, that's one page double space. For a project summary, a one page single space. And we will look at an example from our sample proposal. Yeah. Okay, so now what are the key guidelines for abstract and project summary? So both of them, whether like an abstract or a project summary, they must be self-contained and make sense. Like, what does self-contained mean? You cannot put a citation, for example, on the abstract or project summary because that will not be self-contained unless you provide like the full sources down there. But usually you don't do this because that will not be self-contained. So you usually don't cite any work, and if you cited some work, then you have to provide reference, and that's uncommon. Like generally it's not generally like this. So it should be all like your original work and written like without like any citation. It should make sense on itself without referring to the full paper or proposal or external sources. So I just read it. I don't need to read the full paper to understand this work. So it should be like self-contained. Like it's just like makes sense by itself without like need to like you cannot say, oh, refer to section or refer to this paper or refer here for more information or something like that. It should be make sense by itself. It now here is what we already did before. It should highlight what, like your research area, like the big picture, the purpose, like the purpose of this work, why it is important, the novelty, key outcome, and the so what. Yeah, so that would be like the outcome, and this is like the so what, or like the impacts of your research. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So usually that's okay. That's what I was telling you. Finalize this section last once your conclusions are clear. So that is like that. Like you do this like that is the last thing you do, like you finalize this section last. Like you can start like writing this section at the beginning, So like just a draft of like your abstract or like your project summary. So you can start by writing like this draft, but this section you finalize this like once you are done from your proposal. Then the last thing we do after we are done from our research paper, from our proposal, the last thing we do is that we we finalize the title and we finalize project summary or abstract to reflect like what we are doing. Yeah. Okay. Now, what is the purpose of an abstract or like a project summary? Like, why do we do this? Yeah. So, the purpose of the abstract or like you write like your report or like the abstract of your report or your thesis or your research paper. What is the purpose? Like, why? What like what like when you are writing it down? What what are your objective? What do you want to achieve? Like to make your abstract like effective abstract. So the first, like in order to know what you need to achieve for to have an effective abstract, you need to know what's the purpose of the abstract. So the first purpose of the abstract is selection. So the abstract, it gives a reader a quick overview of your paper, like helping them to decide if, and that's start by the way by the title. Like remember when we were doing like literature search, we look at the title. If we find this title somehow align with our interest, we will okay, we will keep this paper, we will download it, and we will add it to our collection. If we are somehow from the title it's not clear whether this is useful for us, what do? Then you go and read the abstract. That's what we did. Like we start reading the abstract, and then when you read the abstract, you will see if this is something useful to you. And then if it's something useful to you, you will keep it and download it. If it's something not useful to you, you will get rid of it. Yeah, you will like keep moving forward. So abstract give reader a quick overview of like paper, helping them to decide if is if it is relevant for their purpose and they need to like do full text reading or downloading or add it to the collection or something like this. So that is the first purpose is like selection. Yeah. The second purpose of like an effective of like the abstract, like when you write an abstract, is readability. So the abstract, it prepares the reader to understand like the detailed information, analysis, and argument presented in this paper. So before I read any full text paper, guess what I do? I generally like read the abstract. Like oh, that's what I will do. Like I will read the abstract, and this abstract will prepare me. Remember, like scientific writing, you lay everything forward. It's not like a thrill movie where you hide interesting thing to the end. Actually, in the abstract, you put like your most important things, the main message of your paper, the take home, the main message that you are using, the main results, findings that you have, the main impact that you got. So you prepare like the reader. So abstract prepares the reader to understand like detailed information, analysis, and argument like presented in your paper. Yeah. So that is the like another purpose of like the abstract. Yeah. A third purpose of the abstract we talked about this is like indexing and citation. So indexing, like the abstract should include all keywords that so that it will improve like the findability of your paper, so that like researchers who are doing this will be able to find it. And usually like search engines, when they like search like scientific papers, they usually look for the first three sentences. They don't read the full abstract, they might just read the first three sentences. So sometimes like when you write your abstract, try to put all these keywords in your first three sentences, because that's what like Google for example will look for, like these first three sentences. So if you put like all the most important keywords that your article is covering, for example in this first three sentences, that will help other researcher to find your work and like use your work and cite it and like things like that. Yeah, and you improve like the visibility of your work. Yeah. So abstract include like key term to facilitate quick retrieval in searches and help research find and reference your work. Yeah. uh, what are other things? So I think I covered like selection, like tell readability, indexing, and citation. The other objective of the abstract is key points. So you put in the abstract like the key points, like what you want the reader to remember from this paper, whether like when he is reading it or after he reads it, like, and then what do you want him to remember? So that is basically your take home. So the abstract helps the reader to identify and remember key points from your paper. So when you write an abstract, you need to keep these four things in mind. Yeah. You need, and that is how, like, if you know this, you will be able if you know this, the purpose of the abstract, you'll be able to craft like a very effective abstract. Okay, so now let's look at the abstract or project summary content. Like, what is the abstract or project summary content? Like, remember, as we did before, like you start by the background, like the reason for writing, like why, like this is a big topic and why this topic is important. This is why this research is important. Why should the reader care about this large work? And then the objective, like what is my specific problem? So what problem does this work address? What is the scope of this project? What are the main argument or claim? Yeah. So that would be like the second section, like, so that would be the first maybe sentence of your abstract, first one or two sentence of your abstract. That would be the next like two or three sentence of your abstract, and then the method, like, so why, what, how. Like for scientific, what is this like? Uh, like how for scientific work, what model or approaches were used? Yeah. Uh, for like other abstract, like if you're not doing like scientific work, other abstract would be like what evidence support like research. Like if you're doing like an abstract for like some like not scientific work, yeah. But now, so that's like what models or approaches were used. So like here in the method, you basically tell like the reader like this is the method that I will be using, yeah. And then results. So results, that would be for the abstract. For a project summary, remember a project summary for a proposal, you will talk about like deliverables and output. So results for a research paper, what data or results were found. For a research proposal, what are the expected results? Yeah. And then conclusions, that would be for like a project, for an abstract, like for your paper. But for a project summary, that would be outcomes and impact. And that's the so what. Like, what does this work contribute to the body of knowledge? And are there like a practical like application? And let's look here. Let's look at our our our. So this is the title of our work, exploring climate change. Again, see, here, why am I using this word exploring? Because remember, this is a research proposal, not a research paper. If this was a research paper, I could have just put like the conclusion of this paper or the take home of this paper. But because this is a research proposal, I'm starting with like exploring, because we are exploring climate change impact, because we still didn't do it. Yeah, so we are exploring climate, and indexing is not important. So I don't need to chart to start by like respiratory illnesses of climate change or anything like that, because indexing is not important, because like you don't index, like the only one who will be reading this would be like your funding agency. Yeah. So for that purpose, again, like the abstracts suit my purpose, the title here suit my purpose. Exploring climate change impact of respiratory illnesses are rising from red tide in the Florida Gulf Coast with economic analysis. Very good. Why? Because I'm here exploring, this is a proposal, so I start by exploring climate change impact of respiratory illnesses. So something very specific arising from red tide, so specific problem in the Florida Gulf Coast, and then this is the extra things that I'm doing, which is like economic analysis. Yeah. So let's look at the project summary. So the project summary, I started here, like how did I start my project summary? So my in the project summary, I started with the background information. The background information would be what? Like would be that that the health impact due to climate change due for red tide is not very well understood, and this, for example, is a health problem. It has an economic impact on the state. It affects so and so and so. So I start by describing the so I'm not gonna go through this, like read it one by one, but please read it. Like you can pause the video and like read this background. I think that would be more effective. So you get like training or like a practical experience on like how to draft like this part of your project. And then after the project summary, what do? I put like the method, like, so how am I planning to study this problems that I identified here. So here basically to study respiratory illness associated with risk diet under different climate scenario, we will develop this like model. And then here I provide like the details of this model. Okay. Then, so now this is a background. Here I put the method. Now these are the output. This project will provide, now what are the output of this project? This project will provide a novel approach for environmental data science that captures the interrelationship between red tide, pollen, temperature, and their individual contribution to respiratory illness under climate change scenario. So here, this is like one output. Further trend of respiratory illnesses arising from red tide pollen will be produced for the Florida Gulf Coast, and associated costs will be quantified under different climate scenario. The project finding will be disseminated not only for scientific community but also for to the public health through climate communication campaign. So we will also like this finding will not be only available for academic community but also practitioners like hospitals and healthcare facilities in the region. Yeah. Now here I talk about like impact, like why this is important. Yeah. So I talk about like the impact, and again, like I'm not gonna read this, but please pause the video and like read this, and you get an example of like why this is important for the scientific community, why this is important for the healthcare practitioners and facilities. Why this is important for climate change in general, and like mitigating climate change or adapting to climate change. Yeah, so please like pause the video, read this. That would be like very useful. Okay. So that is basically would be so please pause the video, read this part. Now you have another class exercise. So this is like your class exercise. I want you, like giving what you have learned so far, what I want you to do. Like so, like you go to this exercise here. So you have like an abstract. This is abstract A, and like this is abstract B. Abstract A was written by graduate student. Abstract B was written by, sorry, sorry, no, not abstract A or abstract B. One of these abstract, I'm not gonna tell you which one, like is it abstract A or abstract B. Like one of these abstract was written by a graduate student, and then the other abstract was written by the faculty member, like the who's supervising this graduate student. And I want you to like I'm not gonna tell you which is which, but I want you to read like you can link to download. You can. Oops. I mean the abstracts are here. Like you can just read them from here. Yeah. So you can just like here like this is the first abstract. You can just pause this video now and read it if you like. And this is and these are the keyword for this abstract. And let me make it a little bit smaller so you can have like every, okay, here we go. This is like abstract A. So pause the video and like read this abstract A. You can do this now, yeah, while you're watching this video. We like when this class was done in person, we generally did this like during class, yeah. So like you read this abstract and then pause the video and read this abstract, yeah. So that's very important to do this because that's the hand-on training, and you will see like what's the difference, uh, like how to craft an effective abstract. So read and rate the abstract from a scale to 1 to 10, and you can like here is the grading rubric. You can also use the grading rubric for this. So where is our grading rubric here? Do you have a grading rubric? Yeah, so we have a grading rubric for the abstract by itself. So the project summary, yeah. So uh, so you can, yeah, but this is for the project summary. So like, but the project summary should be like 1 page. Oops, this is not the rubric. Uh, this is the project outline. Where's the project? Oh, here we go. This is your research. Oh, Some of these links are. Uh, check your proposal rubric. Okay, here's the link to the rubric. Okay, here we go. So the integration, I don't know, project summary comprehensiveness, title quality. So like do this, like this is your rubric, so that's a good chance. So title quality and project summary comprehensive. Project summary is comprehensive, covering background, objective, method, outputs, and outcome. So that's the rubric, and that would be like that's how you would be graded for the title quality and project summary. So for this case, like for your exercise here, also evaluate the title and the proposal, like both of them, and give it like a graded from 0 to 9, grade each one from 0 to 9, and then discuss the pros and cons of each abstract. So it's not like maybe each one could have like its merits, yeah, like, but discuss the pros and cons of abstract A and abstract B. So discuss the pros and cons of each abstract, and then present an argument to the class to justify which abstract you prefer. So you would grade them, like give each one a grade from 0 to 10. You will discuss the pros and cons of each abstract, and then you will make a strong argument. So you say, okay, I prefer abstract 1 because of so and so, or I prefer abstract 2 before and so and so, something like that. And then that's part one. Part two, read at least two classmate posts and discuss how you agree or disagree with their evaluation. So you start, yeah. And again, like you can please get into discussion with one another. So if somebody like disagree with you and you don't agree with him, then respond back and so on and so forth. Like make this a fun activity, and it is actually a fun activity. Okay, so these are some of the sources that I use like to prepare like this slides, and I think yeah, like just do this exercise, like this abstract reading exercise, and that's how. So now you have like several examples. So here you have like two examples for an abstract, and here you have like one example for a project summary. So please carefully read this and learn from them so that you get like a good abstract and project summary for what you will be doing. Okay. So I think that's it for this